got one good mate that I've kept from my school days. Rook. That's his last name. He's not the mate I call up in times of trouble. Our longest phone call, maybe 10 minutes. But when I'm thinking about doing something a little bit crazy, a little bit wild, he's the first person I call. So it's Easter long weekend. We're 19. Just got our first cars, first bit of freedom. And Rook's dad has just bought a hobby farm out of a town called York, about an hour east of here, which is a fancy way of saying a gate, a few trees, a shed, and a 5-acre paddock full of stubble. So 5 of us friends head up there to camp on the Saturday night. It's a pretty warm night, it's summer, but we still light a fairly big fire. And we put the eskies around the fire, and back in those days, we're sitting around drinking VB. Because back then we thought, on our student budget, VB had the best taste per dollar value. Anyway, my dad is a mechanic, used to work in Formula One, used to race cars. So I've been around racing cars all my life. And at 19, I kind of had this idea that maybe rally driving might be my destiny. So I'm sitting there on my esky, and after quite a few hours on the VBs this is, and I look out across the moonlit paddock, and I see the sort of fire break track around the outside, and I think to myself, I wonder what it'd be like to do a few quick laps in the Subaru under the influence. I announced my plan to the group. No one objects, least of all Rook. So I get my keys, jump in, do some not too fast laps, come back, sit down on my esky, and I say to the group, this drink driving thing's not as hard as they make out. I look across at Rook, he's smiling. He goes, all right, Jules, let's both go, but half a lap apart. I nod, he drinks the rest of his beer, grabs the keys to his green Cortina, and we head for the cars. Now, just before we get in the cars, I look across the roof, I can see Rook, and he says, but this time, Jules, you need to go through the shed. Now, the shed was brand new. And it wasn't very big. Let's think 2 cars wide by 4 cars long. And to go through the shed meant going in through this door in the narrow end, doing a right-hander inside the shed and shooting out through the side door. So I look back and I'm like, thinking to myself, I had this smile, I'm like, this is exactly the crazy shit Rook and I do together. I said, you're on, let's go. So off we go, half a lap apart. We did start slow. First lap, first gear. Second lap, second gear. And that's when our friendly rivalry started to kick in. By the third lap, we're in third gear and we're on the verge of control. We're flying down, there's 2 straights, down one straight towards the gate. Just before the gate, it's a tight left-hander, headlights swing around, in through the narrow end of the shed, right-hander inside the shed, shoot out through the side door, and then another quick left-hander to miss the fence and go back around the other side. Down the other straight, I mean, I can still see this in my head, look across and I can see Rook's lights cutting through the dust as he's trying to catch up to me with his Cortina fishtailing everywhere. And his Cortina's fishtailing, the dust is flying. We are high on adrenaline. We're high on the VB. No one's catching each other, but we are having the time of our life. This goes on for quite a while. At some point, I'm going down the straight, looking across to see if he's catching me, and I see some red flashing lights above the car, and they're definitely heading our way. I think first thought was cops. I pull up at the fire, Rook pulls up next to me, jumps out, we're looking at him, and I'm like, Rook, do you think it's actually illegal to drink drive in your own property? He shrugs, but he says, that looks more like a fire truck. Maybe it's a total fire ban. The next second, all 5 of us on our knees shoveling sand onto this fire to put it out. There's a wisp of smoke coming out of the fire, and Rook and I head to the gate to face the music. So we're walking across the paddock, making up our ignorant city boy excuse. And that's when we clock it. We're looking out. There's not just one set of lights heading our way. We've got lights coming from Beverley, Northam, and York, all heading towards our property. So we get to the gate 30 seconds before the first vehicle arrives. And like 2 brave Australian men, we hide in the bushes by the gate. Over the next couple of minutes, 5 fire trucks turn up into that little cul-de-sac and park outside the gate, right there. The boots hit the bitumen, and the next minute, more than 10 men are assembled in the headlights, and we can see the silhouettes. They're all standing there with their arms folded, rocking from foot to foot, like men who know they've been pulled out of bed for nothing. Anyway, one of the guys eventually walks over to the gate, rattles the lock gate right in front of us, peers across the property, thank God the camp was in the far corner, and announces, false alarm boys, no fire here, and they all start to leave. As the last set of headlights disappears into the dark, Rook and I sort of emerge out of the bushes, and we look at each other with a, oh my God, we just dodged a massive bullet. So the brave 2 rally drivers return to camp. We tell everyone roughly what happened, including a watered-down version of that bush's behaviour. And everyone goes to bed. Next morning, a little bit hungover, cooking some dinner on the camp stove, some breakfast on the camp stove this time, and Rook's Nokia rings. It's his dad. So Rook answers, and even from the distance I'm sitting, I can hear his dad is not happy. And I listen in and I make out, got this frantic phone call from the neighbour at 11 o'clock last night. He saw flames, saw what he thought was heaps of smoke, thought your whole farm was going up, and so called in 3 fire brigades. So that explains that. Anyway, Rook did his best to convince his dad we're still responsible adults. He eventually hangs up. I look across. He looks back. He's not looking happy. And then I see the grin, what I call our grin. The grin that says, well, that bit wasn't fun, but sometimes there's a cost to real adventure. And I think to myself, I'm grateful that I've got friends that are there when life feels like it's falling apart. But I'm also grateful I've got mates that are there that are prepared to throw a bit of caution to the wind and see what the hell happens. Thank you.